Frostpunk. In this game you begin with one job, gathering resources by hand, and so the game gives you a quick tutorial about that. Then you turn on the generator and the game gives you a tutorial about that. This carries on for the entire campaign with small tutorials for every major mechanic, but all the way you're actually playing the game for yourself. Another avenue for this is the user interface. From my own experience at least, a complex UI can be one of the most overwhelming things to a new player. But how many of these buttons, bars, windows and panels need to be there on the first turn? So take a look at Mini Metro. At the beginning, there's almost no interface at all, meaning all you need to worry about is connecting up train stations. It's only when you start playing that more information slowly appears, like the train line menu, the clock, and the passenger counter. Another example can be found in Animal Crossing New Horizons. The tool wheel is a helpful, time-saving pinch of UI design, but it could be difficult to introduce players to two different types of inventory at the start of the game. So instead, you have to save up and buy the tool wheel from the shop, meaning the player gets to set the pace in terms of how complex the game's UI is. This does happen in some complex games. The UI in Total War Troy expands as you play, for example, but I'd love to see designers get even more aggressive with this technique. So this is all about how a single campaign can become more involved over time, allowing the developers to withhold teaching until it's actually relevant. But perhaps there's another way of thinking about this. If you wanted to get started with fighting games, definitely a complex genre, but that's outside the scope of this video. If you wanted to try your hand at fighting games, you don't need to know about trip guards, frame data, happy birthdays, turtling, bivouacking, or pretzel motion in your first fight. And I only made up one of those. All you need to know to get cracking is how to do more than button mash. So the designers of Mortal Kombat 11 considered this when making the game's tutorial. They broke the player base down into segments like couch players, dabblers, connoisseurs, and online PvPers. Then they figured out what people actually need to know depending on what level of player they are, and put those lessons into 3 tutorial brackets: basics, advanced, and strategy. The important part is that these 3 brackets aren't designed to be played all in one go. Instead,